a live radio show that ventures into the mysteries of life, as well as the hot topics of the day, either political or business. So I want to thank you for joining us this first Tuesday in March 2021. Almost said 2020. So I've got a lot going on here tonight. So first and foremost, with it being the first Tuesday, it's live calls. So we'll get to those here in a few minutes. And before the end of the show, yes, before the end of the show, about 50 minutes in if you want to skip to that point, because some of you people don't enjoy live calls, so I'm going to give you the good news. About 50 minutes in, give or take, if we got a caller on, it might be a little bit later than that, but just skip to that point. If you want the major announcement, I have not said this anywhere yet, there's a major announcement coming out of this tonight's program. But we'll save that for the end of the program because I want you to have to listen, or like I said, go ahead and skip through. Major announcement tonight about the show. You know, I have some big milestones coming up, and I have a major announcement as well. What could it be? Let me tell you, I don't often sit around talking about major announcements and under-deliver when it comes to this type of thing. Some of you have been out there waiting and begging for this. Yes, maybe, just maybe, it could be happening. Some of you could get your wish, and not have to ever hear me again. No, I'm just kidding. You're not that lucky. Okay, so live calls tonight. So before we get into that, I've got to take a moment here and do this off the cuff ad read, and then we've got a planned call after that. Well, a recorded planned call based off the ad read. And COVID has been hard on a lot of small businesses and a lot of people in general. And I want to first thank Nick Redfern for his sponsorship there for the last few months of the Rendlesham Forest book. And then the spot came open. End of the month, obviously, we're first Tuesday in March, so the spot came open. And I've put a few hooks in the water, and I said, you know what I got to do? Chef Andrew Gruel has a great thing he's doing right now. He's raising money for restaurant workers. So I said, let me contact him about this space. I don't want to sell it to him. I want to give it to him. So that's what I did. I gave it to him. So he's the sponsor for the month of March. There's tweets. There's the big banner ad on the website. I hope you all take the time to go read that, feel the impact of that. If you're inclined in a position to give to that, please give to that. He's doing we talk about that here in a little bit when I talk to him. What's going on with all that? But I just wanted to take a minute and say, hey, you know what? This show is doing really well. Okay? I mean, it's not setting any records. It's not doing anything great. But, you know, I am thrilled with how the show is doing, energy-wise. I mean, it could always be doing better. We could always have more listeners, more subscribers, more downloads, more of this and more of that. And we'll get into some of that here with that announcement at the 10-minute mark. 10 minutes left in the show start. We'll get into all of that. That's a whole other can of worms. But this opportunity to give something that's going to be meaningful and impactful to other people doesn't come along often. I mean, obviously I could sit around and pick charities and make a lot of donations and do all this stuff all the time. But, you know, that's not how life works, and that's not how this thing always comes together. So I felt this was the time to do that, especially now that we're marching in, bad pun, to the year mark of COVID and the continuous struggles that some people have faced throughout this process. And the other fun thing was, as you'll hear in the conversation, me and Andrew talked about a year ago, right before this whole COVID thing kind of exploded. So I felt it was, people love that conversation with him. And if you haven't heard it, go back and find it. Andrew Gould, I'm telling you, that hour is he is so knowledgeable and so passionate about his cooking and his seafood. I went back and listened to it recently, actually last night, when I was talking about doing this with him, just because I needed to make sure that I was doing the right thing. And I'm 100% sure I'm doing the right thing. And I don't say that often. So let's play that clip, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to you after this. Andrew, hey, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to share this with my listeners.
Of course, thank you. I know that you've got valuable ear time, so certainly help you pushing our cause forward.
So let's get a little more of the details out to make sure I got everything right. You're funding restaurant workers who are out of work because of COVID.
Correct. We are focusing primarily on restaurant workers who have lost their job or have had their hours significantly cut, and in most cases, they're not getting any help, unemployment benefits, etc., from the government. So we're here to help bridge the gap between their current situation and kind of getting out.
Andrew, hey, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to share this with my listeners.
Of course, thank you. I know that you've got valuable ear time, so certainly help you pushing our cause forward.
So let's get a little more of the details out to make sure I got everything right. You're funding restaurant workers who are out of work because of COVID.
Correct. We are focusing primarily on restaurant workers who have lost their job or have had their hours significantly cut, and in most cases, they're not getting any help, unemployment benefits, etc., from the government. So we're here to help bridge the gap between their current situation and kind of getting on their feet in order to getting back to work or just trying to figure out what their next steps are.
Yeah, I noticed there has been it's been a mess there for a while, some of these processes, and I'm assuming it's not gotten any better. It's probably just got worse.
It's gotten worse, and
this clip really does not want to play tonight. This is just outstanding. I can't believe that. So we're going to try this for the third time. You're still working, so how are you pulling this all off? Hold on, let's go back a little bit here.
it's gotten worse, and there's more restaurants, unfortunately, that are going under. And what that's doing is that's obviously leaving people without jobs, and now there's a surplus of people looking for jobs, and obviously, there is a minimal supply of jobs.
So, 86struggle.com is the website. So, how are you managing all to do all this? Plus, I know you're still working. So, how are you pulling this all off?
Well, we are accepting all the applications through the website and through the GoFundMe. My wife and I will call everyone's previous employers. We'll contact their references, and we'll really make sure that their story kind of matches up. And most of the time it does. There's not that many scammers in there. And from there, we then figure out exactly what they need. Sometimes we're paying electric bills. Sometimes we're paying a rent bill, or sometimes we're just giving them disposable income so that they can put food on the table for their kids. It's really, for us, it's really important that we put all the effort into it as people donate. And yeah, it takes time, but it's what we can do.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a noble cause, and I'm glad you're doing it because, like we've kind of hit on, that people are falling through the gaps that don't need to be, and we need to take care of all of them. So after much reflection, I tried to sell the spot to a few people, and then it popped into my mind that I need to do something good for the month of March with it. So that's why I'm doing this for you and for everybody out there. So big banner ads, tweets everywhere. You're going to be seeing it all over social media. So hopefully I'll raise about $6 for you.
Hey, you know what? Every single cent helps, and even awareness. I tell everyone it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's just about the awareness, the dialogue, the conversation, and it drives more people to the cause and those that can donate too.
Yeah, I think I've seen on one of those websites. It was either GoFundMe or the one of those branch sites that because everything's kind of splintered anymore. That a share equals $1. So I think we're going to be doing well for you that way. Oh, so I got to tell you why I got you real quick. We've got to get you back on for a full show, but I know that's not what we're doing tonight. We're just trying to do this. People are still commenting to me about the seafood and it coming back and forth from China. Any quick updates on all of that? Is that all still the same?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot less seafood coming in from China as American fishermen have a surplus in supply and are offloading a lot of that supply into U.S. restaurants, which I actually think is a real positive through all of this. But at the end of the day, China owns the seafood trade right now, underregulated seafood coming in from China. We've got to look at where our seafood comes from and buy U.S.
And the last question, the most important question, how are you doing for all of this?
Hey, I'm staying on my feet. Got a beautiful family and a lot of help from the family, my wife and 4 kids. So that's all I can ask for, and I'm blessed.
As I say, you've been busy. I've seen you on Fox and other places out there, so I'm proud of you, because it seems like just a year ago we were just having a little conversation about seafood, and the world has went to hell since then, so I'm glad to catch up with you.
Isn't that crazy? I was just thinking that the other day. I still remember I was on the road, and I remember sitting in the back of the RV having the conversation with you, and it was a great conversation, so thank you for that. But it truly does feel like it was just, a couple minutes ago, right?
Yeah, it feels like a couple minutes ago, or it feels like 10 years ago. I'm not sure how that goes. There are moments that I'm pretty sure it's either way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll let you get back to whatever, but I appreciate the few minutes tonight. Like I said, we do have to schedule the full-length one again, because that's probably one of the top... I know that was one of the top shows that I had last year. People are interested in food. People love food. I can't figure that one out, but maybe you can work on that and figure that out for me next time you're on.
It's the grand unifier.
Well, we need some unification, so
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Bye. So, sorry about those technical issues for that playing of that clip. I don't know. That's why I don't do that too often, I guess. Man, I'm just excited to help him out in that cause, because sometimes you just have to help other people. And I seen today on Twitter, of course, the Pennsylvania Secretary of Labor said that COVID's going to cause probably 500,000 permanent job losses. That's pretty, that's Pennsylvania. That's kind of a steep hill to climb for the Commonwealth. Okay, so open lines. So whatever you want to talk about, if it's food, travel, COVID, paranormal, whatever is on your mind tonight, better call in now, because like I said, I'm shortening the show of this first segment with Andrew, and the last segment is me. So you've got probably 40 minutes at most to light up this phone line. 234-738-2552. Of course, standard toll rates apply to all that. You all know that by now. Save that number in your phone. I always tell you to save that number in your phone. I'm telling you again tonight. Save that number in your phone. Why? Because A, you can call in during the live shows, which is phenomenal. B, you could call me and leave me a voicemail anytime. Odds of me answering it during non-live calls is slim, but there have been opportunities where I have, and I've messed some people's days up. I'll just tell you that. And to the person that trolled me last time during this, go ahead and call in again. Dare you. Just saying. I'll have those conversations. If you want to have a smart conversation, we'll have a conversation. If you want to call in and just be an idiot, this isn't the show for you. But if you want to have a quote-unquote smart conversation, we'll do that. Don't be scared. Anyways, to all the other great people out there who've called in for the years, I gotta thank you so much. Okay, so while I'm waiting for somebody to call in, I've been doing some digging across the interwebs, and I came across a story today that kind of I knew it was true, right? Instantly, as soon as I seen it, because sometimes you see headlines and you go, "That can't be right." Man, is that fake news spin? We all do it. I think any discerning individual looks at a headline and goes, "Is that fake news spin?" We have to, right? I think if you don't, you're fooling yourself. Or is that how that, because any story has two different headlines. I suck at writing headlines, so I know what a bad headline looks like, but there are good ones that make you click, and there are bad ones that I write. I get it. But this headline right here, you ready? Everybody caught up? 40% of college students are addicted to their smartphones, and it could be affecting their sleep. Welcome to the Malware Report. You missed my great headline, but that's okay. I'll update you. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Jim. This is Kim Gandy. How are you?
Kim, how are you doing? You want to hear my great headline, or do you have something else you want to talk about?
No, I just wanted to make sure that you got first of all, I was listening to the introduction, and I just love what you're doing and helping Andrew's cause out. And I have been following him on Twitter ever since that you had your show with him, and he's just been such a great supporter of all the people that have lost jobs, and I've just kind of followed that from you. So I started following him, and it's just so great to see that you are contributing to his cause, and I just think it was just awesome. And I just want to make sure we get that link out there again, because I missed. So if you could post it somewhere, that would be awesome. I'd love to contribute to that. It's been awesome to watch, and that was just a fabulous interview too. So one of my favorites.
Yeah, and like I said, I went back and listened to it last night when I came up with this idea just to make sure I was in on it. I'm totally in on it. Best way to do this, Kim, is mallard.com/restaurants, and it'll take you to his website. That way I'm just tracking through who's coming through.
That's awesome. But I just wanted to call in and give you my support, and just say it was just so awesome to hear that you're doing this, and certainly it will help contribute as well. So
I love to take credit for guests. I mean, I know he was on Food Network and all these stuff before me, but then he was on my show, and then the next thing I know, he's on Fox. So I have to be a small piece of that equation. So that's all good.
Well, hey, he got a lot of followers from your show, and I was one of them. So I guess we can all kind of jump on that bandwagon and support him with you. So.
As I always tell people, I've got to make 2 or 3 people really famous before I could even cross that bridge. So if I take credit for him, I think I might have part of one done.
Exactly. You're doing a great job, and I always listen every week, and I never call in. I'm just one of those quiet listeners, but when you're supporting such a great cause, I just wanted to call in and just thank you, and also just show you my support for your show. So, and I love listening every week. So.
Thank you much. Do you want to talk about the other? Do you want to talk about the other thing while you're here, or should I just talk about it after you hang up?
Well, what is the other thing we were talking about? I stopped to call in.
No. Well, I'm talking about the thing that you should be promoting right now. I'll give you the opportunity to promote your show. I know who you are.
Well, for the people, we've had we're not on every week currently. We're trying to get up to every week. But I think extension13.com is our show, obviously, and we had some parent health issues.
FYI, for the people out there listening, they may not have their show every week, but they got some of the best news aggregating going over there. Just for the record.
Yeah, and you know what? Whoever helped us get that up and going, it's been awesome. So if you get a chance to check out extension13.com, go to the news site, and there's just phenomenal news. And I'll give you a thumbs up on the person who helped us create that. It might have been somebody I'm talking to right now. So we appreciate your support.
Well, I do what I can when I can for who I can. So that is what.
But anyway, I wanted to just call in. I know you probably got some more callers trying to get through here, but thank you again for everything you do each week. And I know your show is going to continue to grow, and I'm such a big supporter of you. So.
Well, thank you, Kim. Flattery gets you nowhere, so back to work you go.
All right. I'll enjoy the show. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
So I don't know if you guys got the headline or got the ring when I was giving out the headline. I built that thing up, and boy, that phone rang. So we're jumping back to the headline for a minute, unless somebody else calls in the next... Okay, I'm flipping back to the headline. 40% of college students are addicted to their smartphones, and it could be affecting their sleep. Is anybody surprised by that? By the way, that's from CNBC. All credit to them for the headline. And the study is from King's College London. Just for those people who are out there wanting more information, go find it, because there's a lot of information out there about this. And anyone who knows me probably thinks I fall into that category because, well, I do. I'm addicted to my smartphone. Wholeheartedly, 100% probably am. I'm addicted to the information it gives me. I'm not addicted to the device. It's the Twitter, it's the Facebook, it's the Instagram, it's the email, it's this, it's that. I don't even want to say it. It's everything on there that I'm addicted to. I mean, it hasn't been that long ago. I talked to Jim DeFelice on the show and admitted my addiction for Twitter. That was like, what, 2013? Great guy, by the way. Great author. Ooh, I hate the name drop, but I brought him up, and man, great author. Okay. Germantown Runner just posted. I've got to read this. Going Ron Burgundy. Hopefully this is right. Is that... No, Germantown Runner, that cannot be right. That 0.13. Where's that from? Source me on that, because if I'm going to read that, I need to know where that's from. Because that... Woo! that means I would have graduated way towards the top of that class. That's bad right there. Don't forget the phone lines are open for you. These live call shows are for you. They're not for me, obviously, because the live call-in shows make me nuts. Right? Because I can't plan for them. I mean, I try to. I had a little segment at the first, and I've got this big news coming. If you have just tuning in now, there's big news coming at the last part of the show. So these minutes in between, I can't plan for. I mean, I've got a few stories up here I can talk about, but I want to talk to you. There's listeners in almost 200 countries around the world in the show. Okay? Deal with it. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Or whatever it is. Maybe it's not 200, but there's a lot of them, okay? All 50 states, coast to coast, Canada, Mexico, a bunch of countries. Over 100, I know that much for sure. It's been over 100 for a long time. Okay? So it's a global product. And I know 97% of you listen to the podcast. Phenomenal. I appreciate all of you. And if you're sitting out there listening and going, you know, Jim, you're live when it's 2 a.m. I can't call in. I know. I appreciate that. I totally 100% appreciate that, and I appreciate you, right? I appreciate you. And like I said, 80% of my listeners, I will never see a name or a username even for you, and I appreciate all of you. But that's not what we're doing here. Okay. Those shows are coming, guys. Those humble reminders of what's going on are coming quick, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So we're not talking about that right now, because I don't want to get into all that yet. Because I get into that now, it's going to be problems. Gonna spoil the news and all this other stuff. Okay. Sorry, I thought I had other news stories open and then I closed them all right before the show, because that's what I traditionally do, is close all the windows and just bring up the chat. I'm always good for that. So sorry about that as I try to get them back open here. So, some of these stories are just wild. I don't even know why they're stories. I mean, I guess content's content, right? But okay. Well, the good news is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine got approved, so we should, hopefully, I see by summer we're going to have vaccines for everybody, which would be great. First detection of hydrogen chlorinated gas on Mars. That's good, worth noting. Of course, that was from February. Well, this thing hasn't updated in a while. That's always helpful. Whoever does that stuff needs fired. Oh, that's my site? Okay. Here's another one from February. This is always good. Always helpful. Researchers may have found the cure for baldness. Okay. I hate this right now. Fox News Baltimore. Okay. Germantown Runner just sent me this story because I asked them to. We're going to... No. City student passes free classes in 4 years, ranks near the top half of his class with a 0.13 GPA. Passes free classes in 4 years and ranks near top half of class with a 0.1 GPA. Fox News Baltimore with the story here. Passes... How? I'm reading some of the story and I just sit here and go, how? I sit here and read, how? Now, as many of you know, I'm a big school choice fanatic. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me mixing up about Pennsylvania school choice because The government wants to gut funding from our charter school system, which is not appropriate at this point. I mean, our school districts are sitting on billions of dollars, and he wants to take funding from charter schools and give districts more money. I don't get it. Does education need reform in Pennsylvania? Yeah, totally. Does the funding metric probably need reset? Yeah, it probably does. It probably needs reset for districts too. Okay, let's be honest. But that's not the conversation you're trying to have. So let's be fair and balanced. Okay. Okay. So, but this GPA thing. Now, as many of you know, anybody who's listened to this program more than once knows that I'm not the smartest man and not the most articulate man, not the any of those superlatives. I graduated with about 2.8. Okay? And I was in the middle of my class. This 1.13 and only passing a few classes, 3 classes to be exact, blows my mind. Germantown Runner sends me another story. He's on fire tonight. Sending me a headline from the RT. Question more. Great tagline by them. Would you like more brain damage with them? America's favorite cooking oil causes neurological change, says animal study. Again from the RT. Let's see here. This comes from an Irish scientist over in the University of Glasgow, Peter Andrews. And soybean oil. America's favorite oil. Wow. That is interesting. Of course, living with somebody with peanut allergy makes me understand why. Makes me understand that completely. And then I'm scrolling down through, and this is also an RT, which is another great web show. You got to go back, and we did a couple of shows about Monsanto and Roundup. And I'm drawing a blank on the guys' names, but they were phenomenal. We talked about that almost back-to-back weeks. Was that? Oh my! You're just gonna have to go to Mallard.com and search Roundup. I can't remember when it was. I'll get them in the show notes for you podcast people. It's been a while ago, but they were, man, I hate saying that and sound like an idiot right now because that's what I'm doing. But they were on point about this Roundup thing, and I think the takeaway that I had from those conversations was that we're like 1 degree away from Agent Orange with Roundup. Something like that. Don't quote me, please. That's not what that's meant for. But it's pretty intense stuff that we're putting on plants. Either way you cut it. And the other one was, and that was right around the time we were doing Good Foods, Bad Foods. That was quite a great time. Great few shows in there. And of course, I'm not saying that, man, so many great shows through the years. Okay? I'm feeling really reflective tonight, and I don't want to do that. I really, truly don't want to feel reflective. Hello.
Hey Jim, what's going on, man?
Not much, Chuck. I'm glad you got your phone figured out.
Well, I had to call you from my computer because for whatever reason, these brand new iPhones, they just they don't work well.
They're smarter than you. That's the problem.
Oh, absolutely. You know, if my grandchildren were here, you know, he's about 4 and my other one's about 1, they could probably figure it out.
So, Chuck, you obviously heard the story about the 0.13 GPA, and as an educator, that has to make your blood boil.
Oh man, you know, it really does. You look at the state of Iowa, and I'm not just pimping out Iowa because I'm an Iowa educator, but you know, our graduation rate last year was 98%, the highest ever, and I'm going to guess because it's COVID-19 related and all that sort of stuff. Now, the top. I want to say the top 50% GPA, you know, if you look at our school district, and my daughter happens to be in the top 50%, you would have to have at least a 3.32.
That's fair. I mean, that's pretty high if you ask me, but I think that's Like I said, I was in the top half at 2.8. So okay, but that's way higher than.
Yeah. Well, and again, some people out there, they'll either say, hey, it's too easy, or there's you have too many smart kids to deal with. I don't know. I don't even know how to, understand, how a school district can get away with, you know what I mean, that being in the top 50%. It's crazy. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't get it. It doesn't sit well with me. I mean,
so
there's a lot of things that don't sit with me. Go ahead.
But what's the graduation rate, in that particular high school? I mean, it's probably unfathomable.
We'll find that here for you. It's probably really high at that rate, right?
Yes, I'm going to guess probably right around that 42% threshold is my guess.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, what's the positive outcome of that graduation class, though? I don't know. I mean,
yes, yeah, and two, you have to look. What school district is it in? Are they being adequately funded? Like the rest of the school districts, in the area. Yeah, you have to look at those components as well, because let's face it, Jim. There are school districts out there that are basically starving to death. When you look at some of the other districts, maybe 8 miles down the road, that's doing really well.
So here are the graduation rates from the Baltimore Sun in 2020. So Baltimore City, which is the school we were talking about, is at 70%. Baltimore County's at 88%. I'm rounding some numbers here for those people who actually take the time to look it up. And Carroll is at 95.5, and Hare is the next one down is at 90. So, I mean, they're struggling there, but I don't have the funding for any of that other information there yet. So they're struggling. I mean, obviously, I hate this tagline about leaving no child behind, but damn, we have to do better.
Yes, and it all starts out, whether it's the local, the state, or the federal fiscal level. As you look in the government, and as far as I'm concerned, I would say I'm as middle of the road as it gets, because the more people talk about, the more the far right blows up, and the more the far left blows up, it's really pushing to become more centralized than I ever was before. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Germantown Runner coined the phrase to me 2 years ago about he called me purple, because I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat. Of course, I bill myself as an independent. I'm a card-carrying independent, for those who don't understand. But he called me purple, which is right, because I agree with the Democrats on some things, and I agree with the Republicans on others. And I go in the ballot box and just cringe, and trying to figure out which one will impact me less on the other side of the envelope.
And think about how many people that go into and they look at the ballot for the first time, Jim. They've done zero research on how anyone's going to act, and they just blindly press a button. It's scary.
I want to try this. This would be the great social experiment for me. You put the ballot in front of them without the party, right? And just the names of the people. Mm-hmm. And let them vote, right? And then hand them the ballot with the parties on it and see how they vote, and see how often the ballots match. It would be very similar to what if you look at the 1960 election when JFK defeats Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon killed it when you look at over the radio. He just sounded better. He did phenomenally better over that. But as soon as that TV rolled around and people saw the rested John F. Kennedy and a little bit better looking, and they saw old rough and tough Tricky Dick with those dark circles underneath his eyes, and that killed him. It's crazy when you look at that. Yeah, that kind of changed our paradox for how we look at politicians.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I've got to sneak off here, Jim. I love your show, buddy, and I always support you 150%.
One more quick question. I seen the state of Kentucky approved adding a year for seniors. What do you think?
I'm going to say no. You look at these kids coming up, whether it's 8th grade or that are wanting to compete. I don't think you do it. I think they got to move on into post-secondary education.
Thank you, Chuck. Have a good evening, brother.
Hey, you too, man. Bye.
That's Chuck Banks. He's got a couple good books out of there. Oh, that's good stuff, right? And I just closed that. I didn't want to close that. So it's going to be a second. Okay, there we go. It's back open. For those of you who are trying to call in, somebody was. I got you. Call in now. Got a few. Probably about, I'll give you 15 more minutes here, guys. Open lines. Let's get her done. A lot of great stuff happening in the world. Around the report. All this stuff. A lot of stuff bubbling. What else? What else do we got here? I'll open that story because that's an got to be interesting. Seeing J.J. Watt is going to Arizona, which I don't. Okay, not following football that much, but somehow that popped up on my feed. It caught my eye. I don't know why. Probably because there's those players of that era that I used to watch, and he was one of them. So I'm surprised. I guess every time I see a sports story, it still catches my eye. It kind of catches my eye in a way because I'm like, oh, they're still playing? So, it always blows my mind. Okay, let's talk about this for a second while this other story loads because it's just going slow. Verizon, okay, we've all heard the conspiracies about 5G. Right? I haven't done a show on them, but they're around. People have beat that into the ground. It's going to do all this, it's going to do all that. And then Verizon comes out, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I don't have a story about this, so I'm just kind of freelancing this, but you can find it. Their tech support comes out and tells you, you might need to just turn that 5G off because it's eating your battery alive. It's not really doing you that much because the speeds aren't that much faster. And I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Because I seen a clip of video today. That's where this all comes from. This is where my discussion point comes out of my mind at this point. How can we get the internet as fast as it can be? And then what happens? Because you can't, when you're streaming video, wave hello to the people on YouTube, or listening online. Of course, if you're listening to this online, you don't need super high speed internet. Because I don't produce a huge stream that requires high speed internet that eats that all up and carries it all through. And we're going to welcome somebody to the Mail Report because I love this. It's totally blind. So how are we doing tonight?
Hey, Jim. Long-time listener, second-time caller.
Oh, second-time caller. Something brought you out of the water, huh?
It happens every now and then. But, first of all, Jim, it's great to hear you and Kim talk. This is Everett, obviously. But, with going over the headlines, there was a headline last week that actually I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, and I think we kind of started it in a message. But do you remember the headline about Microsoft patenting the technology for a chatbot to basically kind of, bring a past loved one back using their social media and we dig a lot into the paranormal and the weird kind of topics. And this is one of those ones that kind of bridges the social and political topics that you kind of cover. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it a little bit because, this is almost like the next step into transhumanism, but it's also a little bit creepy.
It is very creepy, first and foremost. And, I had an experience the other day when I was scrolling around Facebook and somebody I know was dead posted on Facebook, right? And you go, well, what the hell's going on there? And then you realize his wife was on his account and was just, making sure it was still secure and all this other stuff. And somehow something got posted by mistake. Big apology later for it. Not a huge deal, right? Because I get it.
No, I can see that happening.
But for that moment where that dead person posted in your mind, you went, how is that possible? And then and it wasn't totally irrelevant to something they would have posted to start with, obviously. So you go, then you have that thought, are they really dead? And now back to your topic, because that kind of layers into this, because it's a layered, deep topic here that you're bringing forth. Okay, so obviously they're going to reanimate, for the lack of a better explanation, the person once they're dead. And I learned something the other day. Now this fascinates me. That Facebook has profiles for everybody. Now, it doesn't mean those people out there who are on Facebook, I'm looking at one in my chat room right now, pointing my finger at him. He knows who I'm talking about. Never visited that site, never will visit that site. Facebook has a profile for you. They have your phone number, they have your name, and they have a picture for you, and they have your email. They have some of your social likes, all your trends, waiting for you when you sign in for the first time. When I heard that, then we're digging back now to talking about animating the dead. Yeah. And then that leads to an interesting conversation, like, what are they going to say for me? Because I say a lot of things, and Everett, you've got messages from you know this. Sometimes it just isn't grammar correct, but you can kind of piece it together.
Exactly.
So is it going to be like that? Because I have this weird text pattern, or is it going to be fixed and cleaned up and be correct, which won't be me then, but it'll still be my sentiment, that's the interesting thing. Like, how far does this intelligence go? And at what point then, like, so they start sending you messages. Okay, well, obviously you could start posting not only messages, then you could start posting new content for the person.
Well, that's the part that kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, first of all, if somebody in my life were to die, and then I can connect with them through this quote unquote chatbot, which essentially is going to be their social media and their public and private communications kind of scrubbed and diluted into what this algorithm thinks they would say. Okay, I'm the same person for the most part throughout my entire life, but I am not one of those people that goes onto Facebook and, I'm living my best life and all of that positive stuff, or that kind of, oh, the world hates me and all that negative stuff. But if somebody were like that, and this chatbot were to come back, or you were, their loved ones were able to log in, or however they're going to do it, what is the personality of that thing going to be like?
And again, here's another fun fact for this. People that know me know that I'll send really sarcastic messages straight out, without any emojis, without anything, just cold sarcastic. Bam. And then a few minutes later, I'll laugh. But if you just take that sarcasm as life advice, so to speak, and you put that in the cloud, and you don't know that, man, some people are going to be jumping off bridges after getting my life advice.
And maybe this would have been a question for Chuck, too. How does this affect people's, or, especially children's, grieving and moving through loss and dealing with life if we can, quote unquote, connect with somebody in this way?
I find this interesting too. Now this goes back to your question, but I'm layering in on it.
It's not a simple topic.
There are hours of me talking, right? Hours of me on video, hours of me talking. So whenever that time comes, as long as somebody pays the bill and keeps this all going for a while, my kids will be able to download those, or, well, they can get them off the computer even if they don't get them before the website goes down, right? Okay, so there's hours of me talking to random strangers. Now, are they going to want to listen to those? Maybe. Is it going to help them grieve? Probably not. Is it going to be totally weird to hear my voice knowing I'm dead? Because I had that moment the other day. I think it was last Saturday. I hopped in the car alone, so I hit AM on the radio. One of the few radios left on the planet that has an AM button. And there was Rush Limbaugh talking. Rush was already dead. And I knew that. But there he was talking. They were doing this best of thing. And it was kind of weird for me to hear his voice. Because, that's traditional. During that time, it's a lot to hear Rush. But you knew he was dead, and then there he was. A little unsettling.
Well, I can see that, the hours of video and audio helping somebody grieve in the future. Only because that's not all that dissimilar from watching old family movies or looking at old family photographs, that kind of thing. Where I think it begins to get a little bit weird is if these chatbots all of a sudden pop up and let's say I've passed on and my son is working on his computer and all of a sudden a chatbot of me pops up and starts communicating with him. That's to me, that's very I hate to overuse the word creepy, but there it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially if it pops up randomly. Right now, I can understand if you have to go and engage this thing to talk to the person, but I'm still conflicted by the technology of it all because I want to see how it works. Like, I'd like to talk to myself. Oh boy!
Oh, I talk to myself all the time.
I was gonna say,
I don't need a chatbot to do it.
I was gonna say, as I said that to myself, that would be a good show. Me talking to myself. I mean, I do that anyways most of the time. But with the AI, with the artificial intelligence and all that other stuff, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's
one of those questions that verges on, you have the ethics, the sociology, the psychology of the whole thing.
Now, I get, here's the question, Everett. This is the question to end this conversation with. Well, part of this question. Obviously, we don't have to end it here, but what's this going to cost? I mean,
it always boils down to that, doesn't it?
I was going to say, they've got the information. They've already got it. They own us. We know them, right? Like I was saying, they have the Facebook profiles already created for everybody in the world. If you created the account or not. They know you. Period. They already got the information.
All of a sudden, this AI chatbot of your or my or anybody's passed on loved one is going to be selling us the next version of Microsoft Windows or the next hot car. I mean, is that where it goes?
Or I was gonna say, yeah. As we take this deep down further, right? I was saying there's so many audio clips of me and video clips of me, and we know the possibility exists for the deep fake where somebody takes the video and the audio and splices it all together, makes it look like the person that already exists. So how about this? In 50 years, somebody scripts all my shows together. Nobody's here to care for them because I'm long gone, and starts selling them as new or old shows, whatever. I mean, people still watch Bob Hope, so there's going to be people out there listening to old podcasts. But they can rewire it, reanimate me to make it look like today on whatever site's popular, because it won't be Facebook in 50 years. I could be wrong. But whatever it is, then this is where content creation goes. I mean, we're already remaking all the movies over and over and over again.
Sometimes several times.
Yeah. How many Superman movies are there?
I don't know anymore.
Too many.
And I know they just announced a reboot.
Well, yeah. Because, what is it, every 6 years or so, because of the market and how they've put them out, the people reach the right age with the child with the right age, and they sell all the stuff, and it's just this big calendar. It's almost like clockwork. You're okay. So inside baseball, way inside baseball here, there are a few people that are fortunate enough to get not daily reminder, weekly reminders of the show from me. I tell people I don't do this, but I do this for a few people. And what is going on? Call ended. Okay, but so anyway, so Everett is one of these people that is fortunate enough to get a reminder of the show from me. So, here it is. I send people, actually Cat Ward in the chat room's another one. Anybody want to fancy a guest? Don't spoil the secret, Kat. I know you're in the chat room. Don't spoil the secret of what I send to these people to remind them of the show. There is probably 5 or 6 of them. I send them very specific things to remind them of the show, and it isn't a show promo. I don't mention the show when I send this to the people, and it's rather good. Okay, so we'll answer that here in a second. Let's give everybody a second to chime in. Think about what I would send the people. It's not a duck either. I know some of you people out there who've been on the duck pond for a long time would say, hey, it's a duck. It's not a duck. I know that's surprising, but it's not that either. I'm interested to see if anybody has a clue, because nobody's going to get this. And this is so weird and so outstanding and such an intention-setting thing that I'm doing. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. Okay, so I teased big announcement. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but I want to kind of build up to that. Okay? We've got a lot of things going on around here right now. Okay? Show 500 is coming up. March, hold on, let me get that calendar open. I don't want to be lying to you. Because I would tell you the wrong date. And I don't want to do that. So I want to be sure I'm accurate when I tell you these things. Okay, so March 23rd, 9 o'clock Eastern, is show number 500. Big night. I've got a couple guests lined up. I've already actually talked to one of them. I kind of jumped the gun on that. He actually instantly replied to me the next morning and said, call me today. So guess what I did? I called him today. So I'll air that. It's timeless, the clip we put together for you. And then the other guests, I think I'm going to get him live, or at least sooner than the last one I got. Got some great guests coming up in March. Got a phenomenal lineup looking forward to April and then May, right? May 31st, 2011 was the first show. So that means the show turns 10 in May. Of course, the actual show that we could celebrate that on is the first show in June, because the first show in June is June 1. So we've got these big milestones coming up. All right. Keep guessing, Germantown Runner. You haven't got it yet. It's on Facebook. Real easy for me to do. It's phenomenal, though. And when you hear it and you hear the intention behind it, I think you're going to be amazed, because it's another attention, another thing that somebody wants me to do. So it's kind of all working together, right? So, but back to the 500. 510 years. It's been phenomenal, okay? The guest list, I don't want to get into that because that's another time, another show. But so the tension and the excitement's ramping up around here. So I just want to take a moment and say, hey, please keep supporting. Please keep sharing. Great shows. Chef Gould's on board for this month. Going to be promoting that like mad, trying to help him, trying to promote 500, trying to promote 10 years, trying to promote all these great guests we've had through the 10 years, right? So it's big times. A lot. Okay? Plus some other things that I'm not going to talk about. Some other things that aren't that important. Okay? That aren't important to you. Very important to me going on right now. Okay? So, well, I've got one eye facing forward on all these cool things going off the show. I've got some other stuff that's keeping me distracted. So, plus all the other stuff that's been keeping me distracted before tonight, right? So, that is what it is. So, keep that all in mind, right? So, what is the thing that I send out to these few people to remind them it's Tuesday? Germantown Runner listed off a bunch in the chat room, and he did not get it. Now, if anyone is going to get something related to this show, it'd be Germantown Runner. He's a very faithful and loyal listener to this program. I call him my producer. He's great. He throws up questions. He throws up stories. He is probably my biggest supporter through the 10 years, and I can't thank him enough for that. But he didn't get it. So let me tell you. Let me tell you what I do for these 6 people on Facebook, my friends. I send them, you ready for this? I send them a message. Very simple message, no words. It's a GIF. It's not the same GIF every week. This week, it happened to be Bill Murray on the phone. A few of them got it and realized I was doing live calls. A few of them didn't, and that's who the guest was. It's okay. It was the first time I used Bill for on the phone for doing live calls. I get it. Bill Murray, I watched, there's a documentary about him doing wild things for people and just being the humblest guy and one of the greatest guys on the planet. I'm trying to get that filmmaker on. Probably it'd be summer by the time I figure this out with the schedule that I'm running right now. But that exemplifies what I'm trying to do here. Just show up and have a good time, and everybody like, is that really who that is? Bill Murray, man. I love to talk to him. Not a shot in the world that I can figure out how to get to him. Too many people, too many ways. Man, I just love Bill Murray. I love Caddyshack. I don't even want to try to mention names. I shouldn't have mentioned Caddyshack, Groundhog Day. Too many movies. I don't have time for it. Okay? Just love that. Love that man. So, and I love that energy. That just showing up places, taking engagement photos with a couple. Man, right? Okay. So to the major news I have for tonight. Teased it out as far as I can go. I want to be sure to get it in. Okay. You're all aware that I've done these live call-in shows once a month during COVID. And they've been very valuable to you, the listeners out there. And they've been very valuable to me to keep this interaction going. Okay? That's why they're going to continue. But for my podcast listening friends out there, it's been kind of a stumbling block because live calls doesn't necessarily work for them. And I get that. So what I'm going to do, starting in April, first time in the history of this program, almost 10 years deep, we're going 2 hours. We're doing a guest and then we're doing live calls afterwards. We're doing 2 hours. Guest live call starting the first Tuesday in April. And I'm thinking we're going to do some live calls after each guest going forward after that. Not 100% sure. It'll be based on the reaction to the duck pond. If the duck pond wants it, we're going to do it. That's how it's going to work. But the first Tuesday will always be 2 hours. Guest live calls. What do you think about that? Now, for you live call fanatics, and I know there are some of you who only listen to this because it's live calls. Adfreetalkradio.com. Go over there. There's a stream at the top of that page. Click it. It is all the live calls that I've ever done playing on a stream for you. Because there are some of you out there who love live calls. Absolutely love them. I appreciate you. And there are some of you out there who absolutely hate them. And I get it. Because if you don't have the opportunity to interject in the conversation, it's slow, it's painful. So, adfreetalkradio.com, news site. At the top, there's a stream just for you if you love live calls. I'm here to tell you. I need to update it. It's a couple behind, but most of the live call shows are there, and they'll be there. Right? Just click play at the top, go over and read some news. I do. I mean, I don't click play at the top because I don't want to hear the live calls. No, I'm just kidding. I do. Actually, I do enjoy going over and see where we're at. Because it's fun. These live call shows are fun for me. They're incredibly stressful for me at the same time. Okay? So, first Tuesday in April, guest, live calls, 2 hours. Podcast will just be the guest. Then we're going to have live calls, which will go straight to adfreetalkradio.com. And like I said, based on the duck pond, if we have energy, we'll do it every week. If it's just the first Tuesday of the month, we'll do that. It's going to be based solely on the live audience at that point. Whatever the feedback they're giving me, we're going to go with it. They've been asking for it for years, and we're going to do it. So here we go. Buckle up. It's going to get fun. But until then, thank you for listening to this episode of the Mail Report. Stay tuned for details on saving money at the Duck Pond Shop. I hope you enjoyed this report. Please subscribe so that you can join us again. And if you appreciate the show, leave us some stars or a review. For more notes from this show or other great shows, check out Mallard.com. A reminder, the views and opinions of this show are those of the host and guest and do not represent any sponsors, affiliates, or any other partners of the Mallard Report. Now for your money-saving tip. Promo code Mallard at checkout of duckpondshop.com, where you can get your t-shirt, coffee mug, and other great products. That's promo code Mallard at checkout, duckpondshop.com. Until next week, stay safe and keep quacking.